In this video I'm going to rebuild my router table fence. I positioned it to the rear of my table saw in the previous video, and it's just a bit difficult to use, and I think it makes sense just to stick with one fence at the front of the machine which I can access easily and see, and to take off the previous fence, keep it to one side. Maybe I'll get a bandsaw and I'll be able to use that. I want to be able to use the individual parts that I've made. At the moment, this section here is just a little too low. This fence is shorter than this one here, which is 80mm high. So when that's on there, there's a gap at the bottom. I'll keep these T-tracks as well. I'm going to use this scrap few pieces of Valchromat to make the new fence. I think it'll look quite striking. And when I glue two pieces together to make the piece that's going to run on the opposite side, it'll be nice and thick and should be quite rigid. It's because a few of you go a bit funny when I start gluing stuff on my table saw. I'll work on top of a bit of scrap. Start by keying the surface. So these pieces are some scrap that I collected, and what I'm going to do is, after I've glued these two pieces together and pop them on top of each other, I'm going to run 4 one way along the top and then the other 4 along the bottom, and I'll clamp the two pieces onto these. The faces are pretty flat and it will help keep it nice and flat while it's drying and prevent the glue from warping the material. Valchromat's pretty good, especially compared to normal MDF, but I just don't want to risk it warping in any way. I'm going to hammer some nails in the corner just to help this stay square and so it doesn't slide around too much. Didn't have long enough nails. Normally what I do is leave them poking out a bit. I've got enough material to cut around them later. Okay, that looks okay. I can see the material is really flat along the cut lines of these support pieces. I'll leave that for 24 hours to dry, then I can take it apart. And then the next thing I'll do is cut around the nails and produce 2 pieces roughly the same dimensions as these faces for the original. Can then transfer the T-slot over. So note the change of t-shirt, it's a new day. I took off the clamps and checked how flat the surface was with an engineer's straight edge and the torch from my phone. Okay, that is stupidly flat. Because stupid things normally end up flat. I scraped off the dried glue splurges and began to cut the pieces to size. Because the dust is quite a vibrant colour, it really stands out when it settles on surfaces, so I make sure I wear a dust mask. I'm now setting up the router table to make the rebate for the aluminium channel. Little does the old fence know it's about to be replaced. I take off a small amount until I get to the size I need. Okay, I'm going to paint one side of this now. Boring alert. No one likes watching paint dry, even painters. I'm going to secure the faces to the aluminium fence with a couple strips that I will glue in place, but they'll need to include a rebate of 1mm deep and 15mm in from the edge, as the melamine fence is a little proud, and it's always easier to avoid proud things than to try and change them. I'm also going to chamfer the Valchromat so it looks a little neater and doesn't interfere with the table saw side of the fence. I could feel, although not see, that the pieces were a little longer than the faces, so I placed a piece of paper between the stop and the blade and cut a tiny amount off. Don't normally punch wood, but I find it really hard to see my marks on this. I'm going to glue the pieces together in situ, and I'm going to do this by clamping them together, making sure the bars of the clamp are pressed flat against the edges of the pieces to prevent them sliding, and also checking the face is square to the tabletop. I put some parcel tape down to prevent any glue splurging onto the aluminium, although this later left a residue that I had to clean off with terps, so I'd recommend using masking tape if you do something similar. So I'm using the bar on these end clamps to keep it together, and then pinching it with these, and that should be enough. And then if I need to, I can then add some pocket holes at the back. So it definitely came out under here, so it's a good thing I put that tape down. Hopefully I can scrape that off. No. Okay, I've done several coats on these and they're looking pretty good. I'm now just going to transfer these slots over. So I'm going to get rid of these filler boards that I made, and I'm going to use these Draw Pro ones. So you get a few other type of fixing methods. These tapered ones go into these blocks, and if you happen to buy the T-slot that's a little bit wider, these would fit in there and work exactly the same way. Okay, in the next video I'm going to make a picture frame for this lovely drawing that I've been sent by Cyrus Dali. So tune in for that.